Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday, Redoctoring. Happy birthday to us. Welcome, my dear listener. Welcome to Redoctoring. My name is Dr. Diane, and this is the podcast that allows you to be a different kind of doctor. As you heard in my one-time jingle for the day, it's our birthday on this side, okay? So if you're a new listener, first time bumping into Redoctoring, welcome. This is going to be a good episode for you to join the gang on, because I'm going to be covering everything from our origin story to current stats to plans for the future. Okay, think of this as an annual general meeting. You know when you are actually part of like a board or something, like governing body, corporation, executive in the company, and once a year they have that meeting where they're like, listen, these are the stats, this is how much we made, this is how much we did, the plans for the future. That's what we are doing here today. Okay, so mark yourself present. If you are a returning subscriber, listener, podcast buddy, mark yourself present. We are going to, share a bit and reminisce on the fruits of our labor, because it's important. It's important to look back and know what you have done so that can set the tone for what you still need to do. Okay. So let's get to it. Firstly, where do we begin? The people who have been on this podcast since day one, y'all know my origin story. Y'all know, can you believe it? I think I'm going to go and watch my first few episodes and just cringe at how cringy they were, because I know that I'll be looking at myself like, girl, that was your audio. Girl, that was your visuals. Girl, that was the vibe. But I still did that. And I don't bash that content, and I'm not ashamed of it because I had to go through that content in order to be here now. So I am grateful, but I just know that in a year so much growth has happened, and it's beautiful to see. Before I start this episode, I just want to say my top 3 thank yous. Okay, firstly, gotta shout it out to Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, because like I'll explain in the origin story, there was just a lot that aligned that can only be God. Secondly, I want to thank all of you guys, all the listeners, all the likers, all the commenters, all the sharers, all the silent watchers, the people that, oh my gosh, I have some people in my life who message me every now and again. They're like, listen, Diane, I see your podcast, you're doing great things, but I'm under the weather right now, or I'm swamped at work and I'll catch up. And I always appreciate that. You don't have to listen to every single episode, and you don't have to Wednesday 1:00 be like, yes, I'm going to watch it, because I know life happens. You can binge watch the episodes whenever you're able to, but just knowing that you're here in the gang, it means so much to me. And last but not least, I thank every single guest, because I truly believe in partnership and the power of building when we are more than one. So I definitely also credit some of the growth to having guests, them sharing it to their people and their network, and then them also sharing it to other people, and then that's how they come across this podcast. So definitely it feels like there's a lot of wheels moving, but I'm so grateful for each and every one of them. Okay, so first on the agenda is our origin story. I'm going to run through this quickly because, like I said, my OG episodes, first few episodes, they go into this in more depth, but there's people who have joined along the way who are like, oh my gosh, how did this girl get this idea and everything? So that's what I'm covering. Basically, med school and my time of being a doctor, I have not felt I didn't feel like we were two puzzle pieces that came together effortlessly. There was a lot of tension, a lot of, does this make sense? A lot of questioning in my own story. That even in ComServe and internship, I would call my family and be like, you know what, this is ghetto. And they'd be like, we know. Or I would say things to friends in varsity where I'm like, listen, I don't know if I'll be doing clinical medicine after the age of 30. So now that I'm actually in a non-clinical job, I remember calling some of these friends and I'm like, yo, I'm in a non-clinical. They're like, girl, I ain't surprised, because you've been saying this since third year university. But I found that, I didn't know what to do with these feelings. So in 2024, I did my ComServe. 2025, I was post-ComServe, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go through the stress of trying to find a job. Let me take a break and let me fully immerse myself in this feeling that I've been feeling about, me and medicine not being 110% and see where that leads. Then in about March or April, I made a LinkedIn post that literally changed everything. Made a LinkedIn post about, the 10 things I've learned that I've not been in medicine for 100 days, or something dramatic like that. And that went LinkedIn viral, in my opinion. Some girlies at the University of Pretoria found me and they were like, I remember it was actually Penelope. Shout out to Penelope. She came into my DMs. Her and I still talk till today, so that's why I need to shout her out, because I know that she's going to hear this and she's going to be like, oh my gosh. But basically, she hit me up and she was like, you know what, listen, I'd love for you to come talk at the university, speaking about your experience as a doctor and the reality of medicine in South Africa. I shared this to my family and they were like, you better go. And I was like, why are you forcing me? Why are you pressurizing me? Why? I don't have the money. I don't have the funds. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in Gauteng. They were like, just go. You have nothing better else to do. So I went. And I shared on a very unpopular opinion of medicine. I shared my opinion and like where medicine is going in the country and what's happening. And, one could say that it was a bit harsh, but it was true. And my aim with the talk was not to tell you that medicine is the promised land and also that medicine is not the ghettos, but like I just want to give you the facts and the information, and then from that you make your own decision. And that was so well received that it got the wheels turning in my mind, that later on I felt like, you know what, hey, this is something that can actually become something bigger. So I prayed on it. I prayed on the whole vibe of, I think, and it's not what I think, it's what I believe. I believe that a lot of us, in order for us to dream bigger for ourselves, we need to see what else is out there. In order for your imagination to know that something is possible, you need to hear a story from someone else saying that it is. You need to hear from somebody else doing something crazy so that you can dream that something crazy for yourself in whatever way that it looks like. And I've always been someone who's a fan of content creation, and I've always wanted to create an impact with the content that I create. All of these things mixed together, the Lord was stirring the pot in my heart, and He was like, start a podcast. And I was like, what? Me, a podcasting queen? Oh, couldn't do it. A podcasting princess. I was like, oh, can't be me, can't be me. But I shared, I think I shared with my brother or someone in my family, and they're like, yo, you need to go for it. And I mean, I was taking a career break. So technically, I could, who said I couldn't? Prayed about it. I remember even with the name, I just felt in my heart the Holy Spirit was saying doctor has to be in the name. And I was looking for all these names and I was like, oh my gosh, there was one that I did. Doctoring differently or something like that. And I saw in the US there's another American doctor who's doing the same vibe, showing doctors non-traditional things that they can do. And I was like, oh, I can't take doctoring differently, because like copyright strikes and whatnot, and she's going to sue me and whatnot. I can't take that. I can't. And then I don't even know how, but Redoctoring is the name that came onto the idea list. I just loved the fact that it had doctor, like I felt in my heart, but also the doctoring. I was like, initially I thought doctoring was a word I made up, and then I looked in the English dictionary and it's a word that has always been there, but I've never used. And I was like, this is actually quite dope, and I can remix it in many ways. Then the re that comes in front of the doctoring, I was like, this is so dope, because when you redo something, can you see there's the redo, there's the redoctor, there's the redoctoring. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. If you haven't noticed, I'm someone who can't say the letter R. And I was initially like, Lord, is this the name? Because I can't say R. And I was just reminded of how the Bible speaks of the Lord's power being made perfect in our weakness. That in my weakness of not being able to say the letter R, the Lord can still grow this podcast. The Lord can still make something be produced of meaningful worth from this podcast. The Lord can still take this and be like, you know what? it will be me who carries this, and you'll just be sitting on my shoulder because I'm God like that. And I was like, that is so powerful. So I kept the R. There was a doctor that I told the podcast to, and he noticed I couldn't say R, and he was like, why would you name the podcast with the one letter you can't pronounce? And I was like, you don't know what the Lord is cooking up here, okay? You don't know, but it's so deep like that. And there's so many aspects of this podcast that have a lot of depth, just like how I said the name comes about. Like there's a lot of depth, and there was also a lot of confirmation in my journey with wrestling with this podcast that confirmed that this is what the Lord, this is what the Lord wants me to do, and this is the path that He put me on. you know I saw a quote on Substack, because I'm a Substack girly these days, okay? IG and TikTok, they're a bit too much for my nervous system, so Substack is where it's at for me right now. And the quote said, from your ministry is the oil that was produced in you from the crashing that you were able to go through. And that's what this podcast truly feels like. Like I have been, like I came into medicine at 18. I'm now 29 in August, so it's about 10 years of not knowing, of fighting, of not seeing, of being like, is this it? Is this not it? I want to do something different, but what does different look like? And it's been a crashing that I've been through, and now it's this podcast is a platform, it's a ministry, if you will, that the Lord has birthed and that I'm on, and I get to, have these conversations that my younger self would have appreciated, but also that you can enjoy. I have friends who always message me and they're like, yo, Diane, just wanted to tell you, you're doing such a great job. And that in itself is even another confirmation to why I know that this is something from the Lord, because whenever I feel like, yo, this podcast is too much, like I just need to take a break, or like I don't know what's happening, everyone is canceling on me and things like that, a random comment or a random friend will just message me and say, keep going. And I'm like, that's the Lord. That can only be the Lord. So I carry on. I carry on. And it's truly been a journey, okay? The next thing that I want to speak on are the lessons that I've been learning as I've been moving. Like I said, there's a lot of friction that I experience. And the one thing that I can't even remember when it was, but quite early in the podcast, I realized that I was going to have to lay myself down, you know. I was going to have to shrink myself in order for the message to go. Because there's parts of, well, business, I've heard business people speak like this, that when you're building the business, you realize that there's parts of you that will be detrimental to what you're building. In my case, I started realizing that there's parts of me that I need to let go, or I need to develop in order to manage or to steward this podcast well, because this message is bigger than me. It's bigger than my discomfort. It's also bigger than my comfort. Like, the message needs to go out. The people need to hear this, and I need to make it happen. It's something that I've been burdened with. It's a story that I know younger Diane would have appreciated. So if for nobody else, I'm doing this for the little girl, not little girl, but like the 20-year-old that I was, who was like, I don't know what I'm doing in medicine, but I'm doing it anyway. So the same with the podcast. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway. So that's what keeps me going, and that's what keeps me pressing. There's also a verse in, is it Philippians? Or somewhere there, Paul was talking about considering others more important than yourself, bearing your brother's burdens as if it was your own, and whenever I think of the podcast, that's how I think about what I'm doing. That's why I'm just like, you know what, sometimes guests are like, yo, I can only film like on a Wednesday, 5 o'clock. And I'm like, I know I end work at 5, but I can leave at 4:30, be here at home, set things up, and quickly film. Like, I just need to liven up my eyes so I don't look dead. Or like even right now, like I'm filming this after work because I had a busy weekend, and I was just, you know what, actually the weekend just got away from me. So that's why I'm filming this now after work. But yeah, it's like there's just things where I'm just like, you know what, no, Diane, you just have to push through what you're feeling in order to get this message across, because this is not for me. Like, as much as I am sharing my career story. I am sharing where I'm at and everything. But this is for the people who are still figuring this out, you know. I am now in non-clinical medicine. I am busy exploring what my career can look like, and I'm doing all of that, and I will share as I go and as I learn. But there's still so many people who want to dream for themselves. There's people who are feeling things and they don't have the words to put it to them, you know. And this is what this podcast is. It's for them. It's truly for them. I have a friend, and I'm going to tell her that I mentioned her in the podcast because, like, I didn't make notes for this episode. I just made like a framework about what I wanted to talk about, but not necessarily like the stories I would share. I remember, so she was in my hometown, Zanine, and we spoke, and she told me that she wanted to do public health, you know. But before we got there, I shared about my story and how, you know, medicine was felt like a burden at times, and she also related to that. And I remember the one time we had a conversation, she was like, Diane, because you shared to me your reality, I was also able to accept what my reality with medicine was. And I realized that a lot of times we feel something, but we don't say it because either it's an uncomfortable reality or an uncomfortable feeling, or because we've never heard through somebody else's story that we have permission to actually feel what it is that we're feeling. And that's something that she expressed, and that's something that she felt. You know, that's how I interpreted it. Long story short, she got into public health. She's a registrar now, living her best life. I actually need to check up on her now that I think about it. But that's even just a testimony to when you are able to share your story, you give other people permission to embrace theirs. Like the ugly, the messy, the beautiful, the messed up, the still figuring it out. Like your story is your story. It does not need to make perfect sense, or you do not need to be at the end of it in order for that story to be valid. Like it's valid because it's your experience. And that's what this podcast is all about. Like to all my guests, I always tell them, listen, you don't need to know all the answers. I'm not coming to you as someone who is a professor, someone who has all the answers. Like I just want you to share your story, because trust me, somebody will find what they are looking for in the words that you have suffered for years to be able to say. And that's constantly what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing in the comments. That's what I'm seeing in the DMs. That's what I'm seeing in the views. Like that's the whole premise of this podcast, is that by sharing and embracing what each of our stories are, we are actually being a live blueprint for the next person next to us. And that's a beautiful part of life, the fact that yes, you can suffer, yes, you can struggle, yes, you can go through whatever it is that you go through, but it's not in vain. It's not in vain, because by the same comfort that you have received, you will be able to give that to someone else. And I think that's even a verse in Corinthians. It's a really, really nice verse. I must find it and put it in the comment section, because that verse is tea. So that's something that I've learned. I've learned the power of storytelling. I've learned the power of, you know, just sacrificing for a greater cause. I have learned what it means to build something, you know, to find the audacity to build something. Yo, I think that's even something else I can speak on, is how I feel like sometimes something needs to be big in order for it to be validated. You know, it needs to be like 1 million downloads in order for me to say this is a successful podcast. But I've had to tell myself what success actually means for me. And that is me producing an episode every single week. If I produce an episode on Wednesday or Thursday, because sometimes life is lifing, I can be like, you know what, this is a successful podcast to me. You know, it's not about the sponsorship. It's not about whoever's endorsing. It's not about whoever's big who's on the podcast. It's about the simple action of me being able to put something out there. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that's the basic form of building. You need to affirm yourself before the world does. You need to validate yourself before the world does. And you need to have the audacity to believe before anyone believes in you. Audacity is something that has been carrying me through a lot that I do lately. And I see it even with the podcast. Like, I'm like, you know what, maybe nobody cares about this podcast. Maybe I'm the only one who does, which I know is not true, because I'm talking to you guys. But in like on my statuses, I will put like what I'm doing with the podcast. I'll put it on my story. I just need to become better at sharing on the social media podcasts of the podcast. But that's just to say that, like, I'm starting to be loud about what it is that I'm going through. I'm starting to be loud about, listen, this is what I'm building, this is what I want. And I'm doing it publicly. Yes, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway. Because in this life, consider everything to be an experiment. It makes it more fun. And also, it really just lessens the load. Like, don't take life too seriously. It's an experiment. Okay, we collect the data, we move forward with what we've learned. And that's what I truly believe with regards to the podcast. I think that's a big section about lessons learned and everything, and that's so beautiful. And it's only with you guys and by the grace of God that I was able to learn all of that. Next up, I actually want to discuss some statistics, because there are some people in this life who are all about the logical. I've spoken a lot about the emotional. Let's get into the logical. Okay, so I have my little Mackie book open. I have it open on the podcast analytics page, my Bob thing. And yes, so firstly, I had a little goal for myself. I was just like, it would be so cool to reach the 1 year mark, and I have 500 listens. But as of right now, filming, I have 501 listens, which is crazy. Like, I wanted 500, and the Lord said, I'll give you 501. That's so cute. Demographics for the podcast. Okay, so we have, with regards to the genders, we have about 24% are male and 73%, 77% are females. With regards to the ages, we have 42% who are between the ages of 28 and 34, which is cool. Y'all my homies. Then we have the 23s to the 27s. That's about 30%, and then the other 30% is within 35 to 44. So basically, on this side, we are between 23 and 44 years old, which I think is so dope. Oh, these are my age mates. Something that is so interesting that I need to shout out is the geographic location of this podcast. I initially started with over 90% of my listeners being South African. And I was like, yes, we are South Africa, let's go. But tell me why. I haven't looked at these analytics in quite a while. Now I'm looking at it for the first time, and I'm seeing that 68% of my listeners are South Africans. You know where the other people are coming from? Let me tell you, because you're about to be shook. I have 12% in the US. I never ever saw the US. I used to see the UK. The UK would be doing things there, but the US is coming with 12%. I'm so shook. So yes, with regards to the countries, we're first South Africa at 69%, United States of America at 12%, Namibia at 9%. Shout out to Namibia. Germany at 3%. The UK at 3%. I'm sure that's my older sister. France at 1%, and Botswana at another 1%. And then Zambia is also 1%. Something also that's quite interesting are the platforms that a lot of people are listening from. We have Apple Podcasts at 71%. Can I please tell you, when I started this podcast, I thought Spotify podcast was the number one podcasting platform, but it turns out it's actually Apple Podcast. And there's a way to engineer your podcast so that it ranks really well on Apple Podcasts. It's just a bunch of learning, submitting, resizing art and things like that. Like, I'm learning about it, but I'm just like, it's crazy. It's honestly crazy. So these podcasts that rank number one on Apple Podcasts, it's not just because they have a lot of people listening, but it's also because they did the behind the scenes things to make their podcast rank. And that's what I'm learning. And I'm just like, you know what? That's what we're going to do. And that's how we're going to rank. Okay. That's how we're going to rank. Spotify, 18% of my listeners are there. Crazy. Also, this also shows me the devices that you guys are using. Okay. We are an iPhone family here, because 77% of you guys are listening on your iPhones. Shout out. I'm also recording this episode on my iPhone. So that's very on brand for us. We also have some MacBook listeners at 5%, and then our Android besties at 13%. Shout out to you guys. The next thing I wanted to look at, yes, I wanted to show you is episode rankings because this is quite interesting. So I'm going to read out the top 5 episodes on the podcast. Okay. It's our first birthday. So I'm just like, ooh, as we're eating cake, as we are, I even forgot to tell you to go get cake. Oh my goodness, please, please, please go get cake. If you're listening to this, this is your excuse to go get cake. Go buy a slice of cake, okay? I'm also going to get some cake or a cupcake, and then because you and I are both eating to celebrate and commemorate this event, we're sharing the calories. Neither of us is gaining the weight. Neither of us are succumbing to the harmful side effects of sugar because it's shared, you know? Okay, that was a spin-off. But just to come back. So, top 5 episodes. Firstly, it's Corporate Medicine, A Whole New World. That episode has about 132 streams and downloads, which is just so affirming to what I'm saying with regards to, there's a lot in medicine that we know, but we also don't know, and corporate medicine is one of those. And I'm really trying my best to get more people from corporate, like, pharmaceutical medicines, in health tech, those type of people to come and talk and come and share their story so that you can see what's possible. That's definitely something that's true. Next up, my second best ranking episode is Navigating a Portfolio Career in Medicine with Dr. Amy Collier. That was a good episode. Shout out. Then my third best episode is Aisha's Journey into Health Economics. The fourth episode is From Job to Journey, Rethinking Your Medical Career. And then number 5 is Redefining the Doctor's Role with Dr. Tavares Naika. So what I'm seeing in my top episodes so far is basically talking about non-clinical medicine and also a different perspective of medicine, and that's what this podcast stands for. That's what this podcast really wants to bring. Wow, quite interesting. Of course, things can change in the next year. I mean, there could be some other episode that goes viral and everybody listens to it or something. Oh, I think, to be honest, I am a bit scared of virality. Somebody once posted about the podcast on Facebook, and my friend told me about that, and I was like, yeah, thank you. But the thought of this podcast landing on Black Twitter and something being taken out of perspective or out of content, my one friend was like, it's okay, Diane, we'll ride for you on Black Twitter. But I'm just like, oh, that's a lot of work. That's a lot. But we'll leave that in the Lord's hands. So now that the statistics is done and dusted, I want to share with you plans for the future. So I love Africa. I really do. I love Africa, love the people here, and I just want to share more about our perspective and our stories. Particularly right now, I want to focus more on what South African doctors are doing. Maybe in the future we'll branch out into African doctors, but I really want to show and speak about what we are doing here, because I was raised as a doctor here. I mean, career-wise, my career-wise has been here. So what are we doing in this landscape? What's good, Plus, younger Diane was thinking about South Africa. She wasn't thinking about the UK and whatnot. So that's something that's very important to me. Quick idea that I can run past you is sharing from other professions in the healthcare space. I've been seeing on TikTok the corporate nurses, I've been seeing the corporate physios, just medical people in healthcare just going into other directions. And I think that's so cool. Is that something you want to hear about, or do you still want us to chill more with doctors? Personally, my heart is for doctors. We are pillars in society and we hold a lot together and we go through so much, and then we don't have a space that's safe for ourselves. And that's something that I really want the podcast to be about, to be a safe space for us as doctors. And that's something that I truly want to bring more of and bring more to the front. So that's why I think eventually we can speak to, the corporate nurses and everyone, but I really want the focus to be for doctors, like Dokotela, what are we doing? How are we fixing things? How are we navigating things? That's important to me. This is very far in the future, but I would love for there to be like a mentoring thing, like a networking thing, like a seminar thing, like let's come together, like community vibes. That's what I'm saying, like in-person meetups. I think that would be so cool. Birds of a feather flock together, and we are only cool kids on the side. But I just want to thank you. Like, my heart is so, so, so soft. I don't know the right word, but my heart is just like, I think about the podcast and I think how far we've come, and I think, yes, there's still a long way to go, but just what we have done so far. I didn't even tell you how many episodes we have in total. I saw it the other day. I think it was about almost 30 episodes, which is great. It truly is. And I'm just so grateful for you for allowing me to continue to still share. It means the world to me because of doing this podcast, because of sharing. You validated a feeling that I've had inside, which is that doctors can navigate and do different things with our degrees. We have a very special skill set and we can be a lot in society. We can go into different arenas, we can go into different industries. And by you listening and by you being engaged in this, you are showing that there is a need for more of this content. Of course, I love also the doctors who stay in the hospital. Like, I mean, one day we're going to need a surgeon. One day I'm going to give birth and I'm going to need an OBGYN. So, like, love them down. But, oh, that was a lot, Diane. But it's also important to share the unpopular and the uncommon things. And because of this podcast, like, I literally feel like one of my passions is non-clinical medicine. Like, branching into that area, like it fills me up with so much juice, like just to see what else doctors are doing elsewhere, how we are innovating, how we are influencing, how we are navigating. Like that's my stuff. Put that in an IV and inject it into my veins, okay? Because that stuff just makes me so happy. And yeah, so thank you, thank you. Like I said, please go have some cake, because today we are celebrating. So that's the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed our statistics, a bit of origin story, and a bit of what we're doing in the future. I'm so grateful, and I can't believe that I didn't quit. I can't believe that you didn't let me not quit. I don't even know if that made proper English, but like, we're still here, you and I. And if you're only coming to this episode, to the podcast on this episode, welcome, okay? We still have many more years to go. By the grace of God, I will see you here next week, but also more than that, next year in 2027 when we do our annual general meeting of the podcast, and we'll have many more stories to share and many more achievements to like brag about and everything. But yes, without further more to do, my name is Dr. Diane, and this is the podcast that has allowed you to be a different kind of doctor. Please do like, comment, share, do all the good things, and definitely come back next week where we'll have a guest and have many more chats and vibes. But for right now, I just want to leave you with, you are the best. You're simply the best. Din, 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 better than all the rest. That's me singing it to you. That's me officially signing out, and thank you. Thank you for being part of this journey. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.